Alrighty, we're doing this. We're gonna talk about the shows that I dropped, and it's probably gonna be a long video, so no intro, not much description. We're gonna talk about all the shows that I quit on, cause Digi did this, and I thought it was kind of entertaining a while back. But yeah, here's my stats. Finished 171 shits, and I dropped 40. And today we're gonna talk about what I dropped and why. And I'll stop talking with that cadence, I hope. Akame ga Kill. So this was a White Fox show, if I remember correctly. And I was kind of amped for it once I found out that it was going to be White Fox, because they had done Steins Gate, and that was a really good anime, in my opinion. And it looked edgy enough, and it had like cool swords and shit for me that I thought I would enjoy it. But after 6 episodes, I was kind of done. Me and Akame ga Kill kind of didn't see eye to eye anymore. They start like killing off characters that they try and like sort of make you care about, and I don't. And I don't like when shows try and do that. I don't like when they kill off characters that I like in general, but I feel like it's even worse if you kill off characters and you act like I'm supposed to care about them and I don't. So Akame ga Kill and me did not see eye to eye. Plus, this show does not, I'll go back to this show does not know tone. Like, tone shifts. This show needs to learn from Sangatsu no Lion, because that show does tone shifts perfectly. And Akame ga Kill, you'll have a scene where someone, like, just watched their friend get, like, murdered or tortured to death, and then they're making, like, a boob gag. Like, or it's just like I like food joke. And it's just like, I don't know, man. It's just weird. This is like waiting in the summer. This is something that I saw in Anime Boston this last year. Just 1 episode, and I figured that was enough. I'm not going to describe every show on this list in insane detail, but there's a weird twist kind of deal at the end of episode 1 that it's the kind of thing where you find out if you're into it right at that twist, and if not, then you're not, and I wasn't. Blue Exorcist, Kyoto Impure, whatever arc, season 2. This was back when I started to try and do episode reviews on this channel, and I was excited because I enjoyed the first Blue Exorcist. I never read the manga. So it's like in the same vein as Soul Eater, where I don't really care about the manga. It was a story that I sort of enjoyed, and I actually didn't mind the original ending of Blue Exorcist. I thought it was kind of fine. Like, I was pretty content with how it wrapped up. And while I was excited for more, I kind of anticipated it being bad, and it was also really boring at the start. And it has this like mystery element to it at the start of like somebody betrayed somebody else, and it just was not very entertaining to me. Adam the Beginning. I believe I talked about this on a seasonal podcast I did like a long time ago. Like, probably the only seasonal chart podcast I think I've ever been on. This is back before I stopped giving a fuck about seasonal bullshit. And this is like a prequel to Astro Boy, and I was kind of interested in that. I mean, I've never seen Astro Boy. I've played an Astro Boy video game on the, Game Boy Advance, Omega Factor, I think it's called. That game was pretty cool. And while Astro Boy is a cool part of like anime history, I don't think it's never been something that interested me that much. But this, like, I wanted to at least give it a shot, and I did, and it just was not my thing. The characters look like really weird in this. Not that the animation's that bad, and some of the jokes just don't hit for me either. And apparently it didn't hit for a lot of other people because it has like a 6.9. Black Clover. This is, I should scream for this. Black Clover. This is, the meme the show. This is like your stereotypical fucking battle shonen 2018 never forget. Here we go. It's like a kid, and he's in a magic world, and people got magic, and he ain't got no magic, so he's got this, like, sword thing that takes away magic or something. I think. I saw episode 1, and I remember he's like, it's very similar in vein to Naruto, although I'm sure fans of this will get mad at me about that. I think everything that this show does, Naruto did better, and I'm just at the age where I don't care about that anymore. Bleach. This was something I was really into. The page ever loads. This was something I was really into on Adult Swim back in the day. Like I want to say like 8th grade, going into like 9th grade ish. And I mean, I watched 17 episodes. I feel like I watched more than that, but I must have looked it up at some point and marked where I was. But so another thing with me is I'll drop a show after 1 episode. I'll drop a show after like 75% of it. That's just kind of how I am. So bear that in mind. This I dropped after 17. If I remember right, that's kind of where they're starting to go, like, to rescue Rukia from the Soul Society thing. And it was pretty cool up until then. And I don't really know what directly made me stop. But I think it also was like a time, like, later years in high school, I had stopped being into anime, and then, like, even, like, early college. So I think I ended up missing a bunch of episodes of this and then never wanting to play catch up. And then I found out that it was ridiculously long. And every time I would watch like Toonami after that, it would just be in a different like filler arc of Bleach, which would be like 20 episodes of bullshit. And I didn't want to deal with that. Digimon Frontier, the only Digimon I've ever seen. At least like the only one I ever like paid attention to. I paid attention for 3 episodes. This was on like a Disney XD or something, like one of those. It was on like American cable, and it was part of like a block of cartoons that I think I liked. That were I remember they were on like near like dinner time, so I'm pretty sure I ate a bunch of at least 3 dinners, or I guess at most 3 dinners while watching Digimon Frontier. It's okay. I like the fact that like the kids like turn into the Digimon. I find that far more entertaining than just like than there's like the little like cream puff shaped Digimon turn into like dragons and shit. I think it's cool, and it's all like the elements. Like there's like a wind girl and like an ice bear dude and an earth guy and a thunder guy, and it's okay. Just was never into Digimon, and so I chose to stop. Dimension W. I've wanted to make a video about like some of like the most disappointing shows I've ever seen, and this is one of them. It has a really like cool but stupid concept, and it tries way too hard to not be stupid. What they should have done is either come up with a smarter concept or just gone all in with the stupidity. And this show like just walks like a tightrope of despair, because it's like a world where like friggin' they found like another plane of energy or something, and which also like the way they explain it doesn't make any sense, by the way. They show like this like diagram, and like this is the x-axis, this is the y-axis, we found the W, and that's it. They don't like explain it, at least in the early episodes, like past that. And they have like this other source of energy, but people can like it's like very government controlled, if I remember correctly, and people can like come up with like fake coils. That's what they're called. They can come up with like fake coils, and it's this dude's job, this Chris Sabat voice dude, to like crack down on the bad guys. But he's not normal. He likes to use like gas and shit. And then there's a girl robot character who the show thinks is way cuter than she is. Like, she's not hot, and like the show tries to act like she is. The manga, I have volume 1 of the manga, and that wasn't as, I mean, it's kind of the same story. It has really beautiful cover art, I'll say that. Fairy Tail. This is another show that gets pounded on the internet. Probably for a lot of good reasons, none that I really can say I agree with. I don't know. I mean, I have 3 episodes here. It might be more than that. I watched this with a friend of mine in college. on Netflix for like I think I sat with him like one day. He ended up watching a little bit more of it than I did, but I saw kind of through it very quickly. It's just not my thing. Like I'm not really into magic, and I'm really not into this happy dude. And he like always pops up and he goes, he has this weird like, "Aye!" Like he does this like weird thing. And while like it's cute the first like 3 times you hear it, when you hear it like 37 times in 3 episodes, it gets a little old. And I like the aesthetic. I think Hiro Mashima has a interesting art style, and he knows how to draw a hot girl. And I can't really discredit. I mean, he's a popular mangaka, right? I mean, Rave Master was entertaining for a time, but I think this is another one that just dragged on too long. I feel like stuff shouldn't be of that length. I don't know. This is also coming from an Inuyasha fan, so, but not my cup of tea. I'm not into the magic stuff for the most part. Fully Coolly Progressive. This is a big one on here. This is one of my more recent drops. I've seen 2 episodes of this. I don't even know if they were in order, by the way. I'm pretty sure I saw episode like 1 and like 3. But my issue with Fully Coolly Progressive is that it takes everything I love about the original Fully Coolly and like adds shit I don't want. Like there's like story elements, there's like plot element to it. Yeah, there's still like mystery and craziness to what's going on. But I don't want story in Fully Coolly. Like, I want it to be super bombastic and super confusing and all over the place. And I don't like the main girl character, and I don't like this, like, extra character that they bring in, who's, like, the opposite of Haruko, who's one of the most iconic anime characters of all time, I think. And, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what they did to my Fully Coolly, but I want them to stop. Anonymous Noise. I actually have a poster of this that I'm 99% sure is in a garbage pit somewhere. Because A, I had nowhere to put it, and B, I watched 1 episode of the show and it was really bad. This is, I'm surprised it has a 7 on here. It's like a girl had like a romance sort of thing in the past. She had a boy that she liked and she like sang with him or something. And then she's like, she still does music, but then she meets this other dude. It's like a fucking like shoujo-y kind of musical sort of deal. Distinctly I remember the music not being good. Like I don't think this girl was that great of a singer. And that's a big deterrent if you're trying to do a music show. Garo Vanishing Line. Kind of a disappointing drop, like, not in the show really, but just that I had dropped it. It's just something I don't know if I'd ever, like, have enough interest to go back into. I watched this with Bob Samurai, actually, live on his channel. That was really cool of him to do. But it's, you know, it's kind of brainless, action-y stuff, which is cool and all, and I'm sure there's, I mean, I don't know I've never seen any other Garos before. I know it's like a franchise, I guess. But I don't know. It has intense action. It has an intense lead character and a mysterious girl character going on. And there's like people disappearing and they don't know why. But I just wasn't interested enough. And I'm sure it has redeeming quality to it. But I just found other stuff to watch, to be honest. God Eater. Now, kind of like, this is interesting that this is after Garo Vanishing Line, because I feel like Garo Vanishing Line does everything right that God Eater does wrong. Garo was mindlessly entertaining, and it just had cool-ass action. God Eater is one of these, like, kid with a giant sword shows, and he fights, like, big-ass, like, robots and shit, but it's really, like, dull because he's just a guy with a sword and there's just other people with giant swords and he always looks like he has to like take a shit, and I don't know, I don't like this kind of show. It's also like CG, and this is back when I really disliked CG animation, so I guess it's based off of a game, so there's that. People that like the game probably get pissed at me. Rave Master. I mentioned this before when I talked about Fairy Tail. This is by Hiro Mashima. He actually wrote this when he was really young. I'm pretty sure younger than I am now. I want to say he was like 21 or something. Um, so it's impressive. I think it's a cool story. It's like a shonen-y kind of thing. I appreciate that it's only 51 episodes. It has the worst slash best English OP ever, and you have to listen to the Rave Master OP in English. It has a pretty crappy dub because it was done by 4Kids, I think, and that's probably why the song sounds like that. It was interesting enough, but it's shonen have to like really, really grab me for me to like pay attention, and this one lost it like pretty quick. Even though I kind of like this main group of characters here, I'd say I actually like this better than Fairy Tail from what I saw. Oh boy, handshakers. Oh, Anagin's gonna get pissed at me. So this is another meme show on the internet now, and it's fucking people poop all over it, and it kind of deserves it. Back in the day, I used to pick one or maybe two shows every season, and well, every season. I only did this for like a year maybe. I would pick one or two shows every season, and I just hey, it was either like I predicted everybody talking about this show, or I knew everybody was going to talk about it, or I would pick something that no one was talking about, because that interests me personally way more. And this was something that I just saw on here, on Mal, and I heard no one talking about it before the season started, so I was like, I'm going to talk about Handshakers, and I'm going to do these episode reviews. And I think I lasted like 3 videos, and the last one is a rant, because this show is really bad. I watched like the first 3 episodes, and then me and Bob Samurai and I think Late Lelouch watched the last episode of this just for the lulz. And it's the worst animation I've ever seen. It's actually, well, okay. It's better than like some like shitty, like low budget 80s stuff, I guess. But they're trying way too hard. Like there's a ton of like 3D weird camera angles going on. And it's not like the studio doesn't know what they're doing. Like, they made K, which, while I also dropped that, is an okay-looking show. It's just they tried too hard with this. They tried to be inventive. And when you try too hard to be inventive, you fall flat on your face. Or in this case, your hands. Speaking of Studio Gohands, I think it is. Yeah, speaking of Studio Gohands, K, or Project K. I saw this on Netflix. I stuck around for like 3 episodes. A good friend of mine said it was pretty good. I didn't hate the first 3 episodes. It's got a really cool like city, like an urban battle kind of vibe going on with with people with like really interesting powers. Like there's this one dude who like rides like a skateboard and like manipulates. I don't know if he manipulates like the wind or some shit. I'm pretty sure that's a guy in Zatch Bell. But he does some shit with a skateboard, and I thought that was pretty cool. But it shoves a lot of characters at you, and it's not like Durarara where they're all like really interesting. They're very like layered levels of interesting, and like it shows a lot of the less interesting ones more than I would like to see, at least in his first 3 episodes. And there's a lot of like really weird like yaoi tension moments in between these 2 guys that like supposedly hate each other, and I just like was sitting there the entire time. I mean, not wanting them to, but fully expecting them to like make out, and it was really weird. Kill la Kill. I infamously hate the people that make this for the most part. This is, I believe, where is he? Yeah! This is directed by Hiroyuki Imaishi. This dude. And he's a person who I rather dislike. Because everything a majority of the stuff that he seems to make, an exception to Evangelion, is this quote-unquote inventive animation. And I'm an aesthetic kind of... I like the aesthetic of things. That's a terrible way to describe my taste and stuff. I'm big on visuals. and I'm big on presentation. And I'm selfish when I watch stuff, and I want it to look the way that I want it to look. And if something looks like way different, it really bothers me. And Kill la Kill looks to me like a shitty Western show. Like, it looks like there are times during the fight scenes that I've seen clips of. Like, I only watched one episode, so anything else that I've seen has been in like AMVs or some shit. But the show is not incapable of looking good. In fact, it does look better than a lot of anime out there. It looks a lot better than Handshakers. However, it's a personal opinion of mine that I really hate everything that Studio Trigger has made, I guess. With the exception to Little Witch Academia is okay. But I just hate, like, I hate the character designs. I hate how everyone's, like, just so fucking balls to the wall, angsty, if they're not balls to the wall, angsty, they're, like, completely the opposite, like this weird Momo girl, whatever the fuck her name is. Mako, I think it is. I hate, this is a pet peeve of mine in animation, that, like, when there's like wind blowing in people's hair and stuff like that, and like their hair is like blocking their eyes and their eyebrows, you could totally see their face through their hair, and this show is full of that kind of animation. I know that's a huge nitpick, but it is something I just really, really dislike, and Kill la Kill is just full of a lot of stuff that I dislike. It's got a, if I remember right, it has a pretty okay OP though. I'll give it that. And it looks better than Handshakers. Kino's Journey. This is another one that's going to trigger people back to back. Alright, if you're still watching this, welcome. A highly beloved show, Kino's Journey. Revered to as like a classic in some people's hearts. This would also be on my list of Dimension W as some of the most disappointing anime I've seen. I watched 5 episodes. And it's another personal preference thing where I really dislike episodic stuff. And while there is the continuing storyline of Kino being just this wanderer going from town to town, she like has a rule where she doesn't stay in a certain area for like more than like 3 days. And while that's like interesting, for me it almost sets it up to fail from like my personal enjoyment, because I don't like, with the exception of Cowboy Bebop and then like a lot of Samurai Champloo, I don't like I said, I don't like episodic stuff. I don't like wasting time on scenes and like episodes and getting like invested into something and then it never being like referenced ever again. Just not something I'm really into. So this, I also like bring up this. This is another reason why like I hate like the Twilight Zone, because I think that any lesson you learn in like 20 minutes isn't worth learning. Like it's not, and maybe that's not true with, maybe it's not true with everything, because I'm sure you could probably learn some stuff in 20 minutes, but I don't want to like I hate like the vibes that this show gives off. Like infamously, there's like, for me, there's one episode where friggin' Kino goes to this like town where like democracy, it's like making fun of like how like majority rule can like sometimes fuck stuff up, and like this town had run everything by a majority vote, and the majority ended up slowly getting people like killed because they just did not like one person's viewpoint on things, so everybody disagreed, and or they exiled them or something, and it wheedled down to like one person in the town. And Kino goes, and there's like one dude in the town, and he's like, well, we did everything by majority vote. Didn't we do everything right? And Kino's like, wow. And Kino, he says something along the line, or she says something along the lines of like, wow, you really fucked up here. You know, what if this was majority? If I had the majority, would I be able to kill you? And then the guy, like, it acts like his, like, mind is blown. Like, a grown adult couldn't think of this cool thing that this kid on a talking motorcycle came to his town for like 3 minutes and stuck his snooty nose in everyone else's business. And then, like, I don't know. I hate how, I was not a huge fan of how Kino acts. She has like cool, like nice moments. There's a cool episode where she fucking saves people in this like tundra kind of deal and gets them like a rabbit to eat and shit. But yeah, was not a huge fan of this. Kino Journey, not my thing. Yeah, Zatch Bell. Zatch Bell is another shonen-y kind of deal. It's one that I watched when I was younger. Made it through 36 episodes. I think that's a majority of what had aired on Cartoon Network. Has a really bad/good dub. And it's a cool action-y show. It's got a whole bunch of spells. It's got a whole bunch of like cool echo effects and cool visual aesthetic to how the characters fight. It gets way too silly toward like the mark where I had dropped it. And some of the characters are really annoying. But it's got some cool action. Rine. This is a Rumiko Takahashi show. Famous for Inuyasha, Ranma 1/2, Mason Ikoku, and Urusei Yatsura, and all that. The queen of romantic comedy, as it were. And this show, I wanted to really like it. I tried 6 episodes of it, and it's actually really long. It's got multiple seasons going on, of course, because it's a Takahashi thing, but was just not into it. It's like a cross between Inuyasha and like Noragami and Bleach, and it's not as good as any of those, so I didn't think it was very good. The main girl was really bland and boring. Little Witch Academia, the TV series. So I've watched the OVA and the movie for this. I've seen 6 episodes or so and decided to stop, not because it was bad, I just wasn't as into it anymore. It's kind of like Harry Potter the anime. It's like the best thing Trigger has ever done, in my opinion, and I'm pretty sure that's because it's not. It's directed heavily by Yo Yoshinari, who I also dislike, but it's not. The storyboards and key animation are done by Imaishi, so, but it's still not like how I want shit to look, but it's still better. I guess they're evolving, maybe. What is this? This was like Ancient Magus Bride. So this was a really hyped show from I think like last season or something, or the fall season of 2017. And once again, I'm not as into like magic shit, but for some reason apparently I keep going to watch it. And it's an interesting concept about this like girl who gets like raised by this magical dude. But it really turned me off with like the weird like perversion to it, where he's like trying to like watch her bathe and shit. And I've been told that teeters off. But I don't know. I was just not. She like while she's had. I'm gonna guess that she has this like cool like tragic backstory. She just really bored me, and aesthetically I wasn't huge into the show either. I'm not huge on how this dude looks. Even though he looks like he should be on like the cover of like a metal album. But yeah, I don't know, not my thing. And I can guess what's gonna happen down the line. They're gonna like get married, even though he's like a dad figure, sort of. How to Keep a Mummy. This is a recent drop, just something that I kind of gave up on, actually. I was technically watching this, in air quotes, for quite a while. Made it through 7 episodes out of 12, most of the show. I kept saying I would get back to it. It's a cutesy show about a guy whose dad is in Egypt, and he sends back this package, and inside the package is a sarcophagus, and inside of it is a mummy, but it's not a normal-sized mummy. He's this little cute thing, and he's adorable. And his favorite food is udon noodles, apparently. But he's like a baby, and he like can't take care of himself. He doesn't talk or anything. He's just really cute. He falls over all the time. This is just like a pet show. Like him and all his friends get these like weird like pets. Some of them are like what do you call them? Like paranormal like creatures, and nobody really like questions anything, which is really weird. And the main guy looks like he's a Yu-Gi-Oh character. But yeah. It just wasn't that. There's a weird. It's like I distinctly remember his sister. I think this is his sister. His sister is like stepmom or something. Is like has this weird like split personality thing where it's when she wears glasses. I think when she wears glasses, she becomes this like hot like seductress, mostly to like this friend, his like blue haired friend who's really dull and boring, by the way. And I don't know if they ever touch on that ever again, but they do. They talk about it in episode 1, and it was really interesting. And I feel like that should be a show. Nanamaru Sanbatsu! Fastest Finger First. I had first gone to watch this because it sounded like a hentai. Sadly, it's not about fingering. It's about trivia, specifically very Japanese-centric trivia, with some, like, otaku kind of jokes thrown in there once in a while. Really cool OP, but kind of lazy, boring animation. Character designs are alright, but the animation itself doesn't look that great. I mean, it's a trivia show anyway, so I don't know what they would do. But yeah, it's a trivia show, so I guess it's the best trivia show. Naruto Shippuden. I talked about this on my podcast yesterday. This, it just ran its course for me. If you want to hear more about this, go back and listen to yesterday's Sugoi Boys podcast. But yeah, 458 episodes. Watched this, and I watched the original Naruto. And the internet's a thing, so I know everything that happened anyway. But in terms of shonen, I think it's one of the better ones that have been made. It's got an interesting story. I feel like it just goes on too long because the guy wanted to make money, Got to get that paper. Neuro Rise of the Yokai Clan. This is my friend, the same friend that recommended K, recommended this to me. It's got a cool Inuyasha kind of vibe to it. It's like a guy who can, like, turn into this, like, demon form, but I think normally he's, like, a little kid. And his family's, like, in charge of, like, guarding something. And, I think I started to watch the second episode, and it played out a lot like the first one, where I feel like this show is just him turning into this form and beating up the bad guy over and over again. And that just seemed really boring. Occulting 9. This is part of that semicolon world of shows like Steins Gate and Robotics Notes. Steins Gate is great. I have not seen Robotics Notes. And Occulting 9 is... it was alright. It's sort of interesting. I liked how it had like a pseudo-journalistic protagonist, because he writes like a weird, like a blog kind of thing. Except everyone talks 500 miles an hour, and I was watching this in Japanese, so I really couldn't follow what was going on. And the main girl has like gargantuan boobs, like too big to be. It's like distracting for the show to even be entertaining. Panty and Stocking. Everything I said about Studio Trigger basically applies to this. Even though I think technically back then this was Gainax, yeah. So this show is everything I don't want in anime. I don't mind it in a Western show, really, but I kind of hold Japanese shows to a higher standard for the most part, and maybe I'm inflicting pain upon myself in believing that, but this is just a lot of raunchy sex fart humor, and I don't want to watch that in an anime. What the hell was next? Pokemon! This is self-explanatory. I kind of grew out of Pokemon after 64 episodes. It's really long. I actually personally know someone that has watched like all of the Pokemon anime, and kudos to him. Sorry about that. Haven't you heard of Sakamoto? Ironically, my same friend that really likes Pokemon really likes this show, and a lot of people do. And I heard people that really hate it. I'm kind of in the middle ground. I didn't absolutely hate it, but I did not really like it. I thought it was kind of meh. I think aesthetically it looks kind of boring. I wasn't as into the OP as some people are, and it's just the same. For me, it was the same joke over and over again, and I could see that down, kind of like Mage's Bride. Like I saw something down the line that I didn't want to sit and waste my time on, and I'm sure that there are other jokes. And I've been told by Art of Anime actually told me that the manga is better for this, similar to Watamore, but I don't know. Shamanic Princess, another thing I watched with Bob Samurai in our Discord group. Saw 3 episodes of this, and it actually was not terrible, but I've heard that the latter 3 are really bad. It's cool, like, magic girl kind of show where it's, similar to the Nura show, she kind of just like transforms and saves the day. But it was cool. It had really cool, interesting like fights with like these battles in like the air and stuff, and using magic, and I don't know. It was interesting, but not interesting enough to sit through what are supposedly 3 bad episodes. Supersonico the animation. I have 1 episode marked, but it's not episode 1. It is episode 7 because on Podtaku, an old anime podcast that is also on YouTube, Holden from Holden Reviews said that if you watch 1 episode of anime, of 1 episode from a show, make sure you watch Supersonico, episode 7. Especially if you're into Makoto Shinkai, because, and he's actually right, because episode 7 of this show is really pretty looking, has a really cool musical score. You don't need to know anything else about the show, or really about Sonico herself. Supersonico, if you don't know, is like a mascot character, kind of like Black Rock Shooter or Hatsune Miku, but she's not really like a singing idol, I don't think. I'm pretty sure she just like advertises like headphones and shit. I could be wrong about that, but in the episode, she just goes on this like epic journey through to like the countryside and goes to like stargaze and shit, and she meets a lot of like semi-interesting people on the way, and it's very like Shinkai-esque. If you like 5 centimeters per second, you'll like that 1 episode. But other than that, I didn't see a reason to continue. Space Dandy. So this was one of the things that like I kind of wish I had continued. I think it has like a 2nd season too. I think that's why I haven't. I don't know if I would want to sit through 2 seasons of this. It's sort of funny. It's bombastic, like Fooly Cooly was. It's the same director as Cowboy Bebop and Kids on the Slope and Samurai Champloo and all that. Unfortunately, also Terror in Resonance. And I didn't really notice it until I saw Terror in Resonance. And then I watched that, and then I watched 2 episodes of this show. And I have a theory that our friend Mr. Watanabe is starting to slip. But that's just a theory that I'm going to keep to myself until he makes another bad show. But Space Dandy is not, like, terrible. I can see the appeal of it. It's just not for me. Again, not, like, my kind of humor, I guess. I think I have a weird sense of humor, so. Sword Art Online. I'm not into video games. This is a video game MMORPG show thing. And I'm really not into the main character. It'd be different if he was way more likable, and I don't really like Asuna either. She's alright at the beginning, but then she changes. And even in those 2 episodes, I only saw 2 episodes of this, and that was like enough. And then it got pooped on the internet. Probably doesn't deserve to be pooped on as much as it does, but was not my kind of thing. Has a pretty good OP though. I'll give it that. Speaking of good OPs, Gurren Lagann. Pretty awesome OP. This is Gainax people that would later go on to make Trigger. Is this actually directed by him? It is. It is. All right, directed by Imaishi. I saw 8 episodes of this, infamously, which I've said about 5 times in this thing. If you like this show, if you've seen the show, you know something happens after episode 7, I think it is, or maybe it's episode 8, and I really didn't want it to happen. And I was already sort of getting bored with the show anyway. I went to college with somebody that this was like their favorite thing, and he was like so excited that we were watching it, and like aesthetically, I really don't like it because it's studio triggery. People go like off model all the time, and just they're typical bullshit. But there are really cool fight scenes. There's cool robots. If I were to go back to watch one of their shows, it would probably be this, because I could probably, at this age, get over what happens early on in the show and just kind of deal with it. Because people seem to like that show. Soul Taker. I watched this in in some Discord group at some point. I'm pretty sure I watched it with Light Lelouch, actually. It's Akiyuki Shinbo, and it's him being Akiyuki Shinbo. He has crazy visuals to it, really interesting camera angles, character designs, and fucking it's just imagery all over the place. It's really edgelordy, and I just didn't really care about what was. I don't remember what really went on. Yeah, I didn't remember like 5 minutes after it. But other than it looked like a him show. If you're into a lot of he's a really good director. If you're into like crazy, off the wall visuals, watch Soul Taker, and it's only 13 episodes. Wolf's Rain. I kind of wish I saw more of this. I might go back and watch this someday, but I have it dropped for now. I've seen 3 episodes. It's interesting. It's like it's like wolves that can shapeshift like into people, and they're looking for like paradise. But I've also heard that there's like really weird shit that goes on in the show that is really off-putting. Like I kind of want it to just be like people like turning into wolves, and like I don't know, maybe like that's some sort of like spirituality with like nature that they have or something, or it's like man versus nature. But then it turns into like there's like it's like weird like I think there's like futuristic like space warrior people or something. I could be wrong. I remember seeing a clip of this, and there was like a dude riding like a horse with like a magic spear thing, and that was weird. Also, I think has a very overrated OP. People say the Wolf's Rain OP is good. I don't think it is. Yami Shibai. This is an episodic kind of horror thing with really shitty animation. It's like these like cutouts, and it's a lot of like jump scares. I hate jump scares, but some of them are like funny, and some of them are like kind of interesting, in the way they like kill people and stuff like that. But I don't know. I don't think anime does horror very well for the most part. And especially in like shorts, it's not very good, but some people really like that. I'm going to combine these basically into one. Yu-Gi-Oh! And Yu-Gi-Oh! GX. So I was really into Yu-Gi-Oh! Back in the day. I used to like go to like tournaments and stuff. I played the card game for years. Way too long, and spent way too much money on it. So like GX is actually season 2. I saw 35 episodes of that, and of the OG, I watched 137. And the show is ridiculous. They break the rules all the time. The abridged is actually way better. But, yeah, they break the rules all the time. The show is kind of boring at times, and the characters really aren't that interesting, and they say some really stupid stuff in the dub. But I was really into the card game. And when you're a young kid and you're into a certain card game, similar with like Pokemon or like a video game or something. I was not a video game kid growing up. I was a Yu-Gi-Oh! Kid. So I was really into the show. I would never really, I don't think I would ever, besides like for lulz, ever watch any of it again. But yeah, Yu-Gi-Oh! Holds a place in my heart, but not, that's as big of a mark as it's going to leave on me. Like almost 200 total episodes combined in those seasons. But yeah, there's everything that I've dropped. I'm gonna do some more videos about this, about like what I've finished or something, or what I plan to watch. I want to cover more of my Mal. If you like this kind of stuff, let me know. If you have any like interesting drops, let me know about it below, and like why you dropped it. Is there anything you dropped like in like a couple minutes? Because I've wanted to do that before, but I don't have the guts yet. Yeah, let me know. And as always, guys, this is Miasma from Gyre Media signing out.